What's this? Oh. A little sample of some wrap. Hand scrub. Gritty hand paste. Power degreaser. I didn't know I was getting that. That's pretty cool. Couple extra dividers. Alright, so basically I have teamed up with discounthydraulichose.com and I got myself a full hydraulic crimping station, as well as I got all the fittings too, if you ever need to convert something. Not just convert something, but if you don't have the right hose ends, then you can use a fitting usually and get where you need in a pinch. So I got this spare box here, which shouldn't have anything in it, and I'm going to put some of my other fittings that I already have, and I'm going to put some British hose ends in here, or BSPP, British Standard Pipe Parallel. So I'm going to get everything all nice and neat here, and then we're going to go and make some hoses for various machines. Okay, so this is all BSPP. So see, I'm gonna guess that's a 1/2 inch nail straight. So I'm actually gonna write the code down here. That way when I need to reorder some, it's real easy. Even though I know these fittings like the back of my hand, but it's just easier just to give me the code here. So that's male British Standard Pipe Parallel, and it's going to be -08-08. So -08 is the hose size, and the other -08 is the fitting size. And 08 stands for 8/16, which is 1/2 of an inch. So I guess we might as well put the female 08-08 here. Female British Standard Pipe. I'm not sure what the X is, but 08-08. This is female 90, 1/2 inch, 3/8 straight, 3/8 straight male, so this is 3/8 straight female. Three-eighths 90 female. 1/4 inch male straight, 1/4 inch female straight, which I got a bunch more of those. Those are a lot more popular than the males. The ones that are not very popular, I tried to get 4 of them, even though that's probably too much, honestly. And I didn't get any 90 males. They're not very popular at all. Alright, so then we're going to go right up to the 3/4 inch 90 female. straight female. And so I think that's it for the BSPP. I guess it would be nice for it to be in that box, but it is what it is. We'll deal with it. The rest of this, I think I'm going to fill up with miscellaneous fittings that I have. And then we'll do, on top of here, I got a bunch of boxes of caps and plugs, so we'll put those up there. And we also can't forget the Rhino plugs, which I have a bunch more. I gotta find them. I have so much hydraulic stuff. It's so nice to be able to put this somewhere finally. Just have it all in one place. So a lot of my machines take BSPP, and so I actually have a lot of adapters already. This is some of them. So I'm going to try to put these in this bin right here. A lot of these adapters are conversions, so it is kind of hard to place them in some category. Like this one's NPT to O-ring Boss. So where do you put that, you know? So most of my caps and plugs have their own bin for it. But this setup that I have, which is like a hex socket, I don't have a bin for it. So I'm going to put these in here. I think these caps and plugs should just stay the way they are. I don't see any need to really put them in here. If I only had one or two of these, maybe I'd try, but I got so many of these that it doesn't really make sense. JIC, that's JIC, O-ring face seal, NPT, another JIC. I got two JICs, I guess. BSPP. Then you got like NPT, which, okay, so this isn't any conversions in here. This is just pipe to pipe. So most of it's male to male 90, male to male 45s, and then female to female 90s. So that's nice to have. And then this is all JIC, but there is some JIC to NPT conversions. Yeah, basically JIC and pipe is basically what I see in here. Got lots of fittings in here. O-ring face seal. And if you don't know what O-ring face seal is, it's exactly what it says it is. It's got an O-ring on the face of it, and that's how it seals. So it's a flat face O-ring face seal. So I see some O-ring face seal to pipe. And there's a little bit of JIC too. O-ring face seal to JIC. That's nice. Anytime you can convert to JIC, it's really good because JIC is the cheapest of all fittings to get. So sometimes if you need a British or metric in general, but mainly BSPP, those get really expensive for the fittings, or at least the hose ends. So sometimes you can make a JIC hose with a JIC hose end, but then you convert it to BSPP with just a fitting, because these things get super expensive. The hose ends for BSPP usually get really expensive. So there's probably more money right here than there is in this whole thing right here. But that's just kind of the way it goes. And a lot of my machines do take BSPP. And there has been many times at the hydraulic store that we have done just that, where I get a JIC hose made up and just put BSPP fittings on it. And it's a lot cheaper than getting a BSPP hose made up. Because the hose is the same, but the hose ends are different. Especially when you get into these bigger ones with a 90 on it. These things are super expensive. But if you can get a JIC straight and then convert it, like, well, I guess in this case you could just put a JIC hose end on it and then convert it to a straight BSPP, but also you could just do a straight JIC and then go to a BSPP fitting, like a 90, like something like that, and it's just a lot cheaper. Alright, so I want to say right off the bat, I wanted to get a one that's hydraulic over electric. You just press a button and it crimps it. But they are extremely expensive. This one was still pretty expensive because it's a nice one. It's not a cheap Chinese one. This is a Uniflex and they're made in Germany. So you know it's going to be a nice crimp setup when it's made in Germany. And nothing against the units from China, because I'm sure they do serve their purpose. And I gotta be honest with you, I was almost gonna buy one. The nice thing about this is, if I'm going up to the Adirondacks and I know that I got a hose blown, but I don't know exactly how long I need it, but maybe I know the hose ends that I need, I can just bring some hose up, bring the fittings that I need, and bring this up, and I can crimp it up there to the length. So that is nice to be able to have something that's portable like this, because that exact scenario can happen sometimes. Sometimes you blow a hose and you're like, all right, I'm going home, and you know that the one hose end is, you know, just say like a JIC, and it's a number 4 pilot line, but you don't know how long it is because you didn't pull it out yet. And you're like, oh, I'm disgusted, I just want to go home. So you get the right hose ends, you bring a whole roll of stuff longer than you need, you cut it on the spot, and then you crimp it on site. I could see that could be useful once in a while. So here's all the different dies for it. That's cool. A little spot for it. Alright, so I didn't think of it when I bought all this stuff, but I made another small order, and I got some Group 61 hose ends. So this is for 3/4, and you do see these a lot on excavators. Even my crane, at least the one crane, has this. And I remember one time I got a hose made up that was like 7 feet long, and it was like $700, and it had these ends on it. So Group 61 3/4 90s, Group 61 1/2-inch straights. I got a bunch of them. I got all kinds of different ones, and some of them were on back order, so in a couple days I'll get a couple more of them. But for right now, I think I'm gonna have to use a whole nother drawer, and we'll start the Group 61 drawer. This one, I just have these in here. That's all I have, so we'll dedicate this to here. Three-quarter straights. Keep these on here. A 1/2-inch 90. Stuff for making hard lines. Because I don't have a whole lot of it, but I'd like to get a little bit more. This is what I use to make hard lines. Basically use a flare tool on the end of the hard line. You put this in there, and then you make a JIC out of it. So I got a couple. I think I got a little bit more, but I should order some more of this stuff and some tubing too. This is my pressure testing hose with adapters to go to absolutely anything. I have the skid steer quick couplers to go in and out of that to test the working pressure. When I made up this assembly, I was at the hydraulic store, and I have this 5,000 psi gauge, and I wanted a way to convert that to absolutely anything, any size, any fitting. So there's a few hoses that go with that to convert it to literally anything. And what I did is I started off small, and then I got adapters to go bigger and bigger for each different fitting. The only one I don't have for that is like a Group 61 or something, but I don't know, I never really needed that. But I got NPT, O-ring face seal, JIC, ORB, and BSPP. So I just ordered a cheap cutoff saw that I can put next to this. We'll scoot that over, and then we have room for both of those. But I don't think I want to wait for that to come in to make my first hose with this. I think I want to kind of mess around with it right now. One thing that I need to put a hose on, the first thing, that boom lift has a hose that goes all the way to the end, and it's to rotate the basket left and right. And when I activate that, it squirts out the side going one way, not the other. That's a 1/4-inch hose, and that boom is 70 feet long. So I'm assuming that that hose is going to be 80 feet maybe. So to buy that at the store, it would be a lot of money. But since we can make it, let's go ahead and make it. One of these hoses is the one in question. Should probably almost do both of them, honestly, because they're both like really, really old. Some of these are newer, so there's no point in doing those. Actually, these are the only two that are not newer. Maybe we'll just do both of them. Use up most of my reel in there, but I don't want to be in there again doing it. So somewhere's over here is where it's leaking. Let me see if I can find the leak. I'm hoping it's JIC, but I don't know. Nope. It's O-ring face seal. It's gonna be 1/4 inch. So put that there. FFX0404, which means that's a female O-ring face seal, straight, number 4 hose, number 4 fitting. Number 4 is 4/16 or 1/4 inch. So in this case, we could probably use a 90 if we really had to. I only got 4 of each one, so we should have just enough. But since it's my first time crimping, I might mess 1 or 2 up, so may have to use a 90 or something. Or the other end might not be the same. The other end might be a 90, in which case that'll be good, because then we'll have a few spares to work with. But yeah, we'll make it work either way. This area here is not crucial that anything is like, everything is out in the open and nothing is going to get crunched. We could have a little bit more hose, that's fine. I plan on cutting it like a foot longer than it needs to be. That way I can dial in everything and not have to worry about being too short. Although if we are too short, what's nice about having my own hose crimping setup is that if something goes wrong in the middle, say it rubs somewheres, if I don't put it back and it rubs somewheres and it ruptures the hose in one place, well, all I got to do is get that area loose, bring it down to the ground, bring my hose crimping station over here, crimp on 2 ends and a coupler, and away I go, which is really nice. So regardless of what happens, if you have a decent hose, you could repair it. Like this hose right here, that's an Eaton Weatherhead. I think I can crimp that. I just got to get the crimp specs for it because it's different for every hose. I have a chart for the hose that I'm going to be using, but I'm pretty sure I could use Weatherhead. Now these hoses, if they were in any decent shape, I might try to repair it, just being that it's so long and so hard to get to. But there's just no repairing this kind of hose. I mean, that's just 40 years old or whatever it is. And it's the only hoses on here that are like that, so I feel good about replacing these and just these. Yeah, see, these are not going to leak a lot because there's nothing going on with them right now. There's no pressure one way or the other. But if you have caps and plugs, you might as well use them. See, this plug has an O-ring in it, and that's what seals it up. See, that's just flat. So it's an O-ring face seal. You could almost call it O-ring flat seal, but the seal isn't flat. The surface is. So we're not going to worry about which one goes where. It's not worth the effort. Both of them are going to and from the same place, and if they happen to be backwards when I put them in, it'll take me about a minute and a half to switch them. I'd have a lot longer than a minute and a half if I tried to figure out which one is which. So to give you an idea how this works on this boom lift, these two lines go up through this. This is solid. You can't get in this, so you just have to pull them through. That's not a big deal. That's like 4 feet long. Then it goes into that one, which is solid. You can't get inside that. You can't take it apart. So when I get up to there, I'm gonna put a rope on both of them. That way I can pull it through, and the rope will pull it back through this way. I'm gonna use paracord for that. But then after that, I'm probably still gonna use the rope, but I don't really need to because it goes through this chain, so you have access to it. Now the chain is gonna be wrapped around it, so you can't just like sling it through there. You have to go underneath of the rungs on the chain. So it does have to go below this, but you can kind of go in each one. You don't really have to use a rope. I may or may not use a rope. I'm not really sure. We'll see. We'll see how I feel when we get there. But these are the lines right here. So then it goes through that one, through this one, back around the chain, then it loops around that way and goes underneath of that plate that we took off at first, and it's on the outside, so it's nice and easy. It's just got some zip ties I got to take off, and then we'll put some zip ties back on it. And then probably the hardest part of the whole thing is where it goes into the valve bank over there. There's not much room to work, and there's a lot of stuff in the way. One of the lines was not going through, and I was like, well, that's strange. It should be smooth all the way. Oh, somebody put a coupler in there. in pretty bad shape right there, if I had to say so.
Now we gotta do the hard part. I'm down to my t-shirt in here, so these shirts are all cotton, 100%. That's awesome. That's incredible. I'm gonna wear it right now. Two here. It's just these right here.
O-ring face seal again. Not surprised. Oh wow, that one was not even tight. Kind of good in a way and kind of bad in a way, but I'll take it. It's not really a great way to put a wrench in here. I'm gonna have to clean these fittings off before I put a new hose in. But look at that, just no fluid. I don't even understand that, not even a drop. For some reason they left this big giant loop in here. I don't blame them. I mean, if you're a foot or two off, that could be a major thing if you can't crimp your own hoses. Although I seriously doubt that anybody ever replaced these. Now that I'm thinking of it. Okay. $77 feet.
Not doing anything. You gotta put it down on the ground if you want to measure it.
78 feet.
Still not on the ground.
I guessed 80 feet, but 78's cool.
One on each. Those couplers, I can reuse those.
So I got 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, and 3/4. I'll probably end up getting 1 inch at some point. They make 5/8 too, but I never needed 5/8 before. 3/8 is not very common either, but sometimes you do use it. But 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 are the most popular. So I got, I think, 200 feet of this. So I haven't come up with a good way to have these on a spool where they can all spool out. I think you need to spool each one individually. I could see spending a half a day coming up with something for that, so I just put a 2x4 up there. That'll work for now. I'll figure out something later, but for right now I think I pretty much need this whole roll right here. So I didn't really expect to do both lines, so I should have got more, but at the same time I'll just go ahead tonight and order more. And I still should have like 40 feet left when I'm done, so let's just get this off of here and we'll get that spooled out. You put it at 40 feet. one end of each. O-ring face seal, hose ends. I'm gonna look for, I'm gonna do 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch O-ring face seal female swivel, FFX 0404. Four of those all together. Let's see if I can get this the first try. I've never done this before, so here's a chart for this style hose and fitting. So we're gonna do, this is a braided hose. This is a R2 for 2-wire, 5,800 PSI is what this is good for. This is a SAE 100 R2 for 2-wire. And this stuff is actually really flexible. I'm quite surprised on how flexible it is. So basically the way this works is those in there right now are the base dies, are like non-removable dies, and you add other dies to the right diameter. So for this, it calls for, this is the top one, the crimp diameter should be 16.38. So we're going to get a 14 die, and then we're going to add 2.38 with this manual adjustment right here. So first thing I want to do is find the 14, which I think is going to be the smallest one. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be this one. I'm 100% sure of that. Let's see. Yeah, see that says, see, I don't know if you guys can see, but that says 14 on it. So these little nubs right here go into those nubs. You got to put these in all the way around. So there's a bunch of them that you got to put in there. Okay, so now this thing is zeroed out right now, but we want to put 2.38. I think that's millimeters. There's 2.38. Okay, so we got our test light. So that should illuminate when it's crimped down to spec. And just to make sure the battery's working, there's a test button. Well, really sure if I'm supposed to be, I think I'm supposed to be sending it through like that. That way I can see what's going on.
that actually goes a lot faster than I thought it would. You know, this thing almost has like stages, because it went really fast and now I think it's going really slow now that the pressure is on. They also give you this extendable handle to give you more leverage. Like you put it like that when you're starting out, and then once it starts to get a little bit harder, you pull it out. You're supposed to mount this too. I'll do that. But right now, let's get this crimped. You know, obviously having a electronic over hydraulic one would be so much better, but oh, there we go. See that? The light lit up. So that means that we completed our first crimp. Looks good to me. Don't see any issues with that. I don't really know what I'm looking at, but it looks good to me. 16.38 right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put a plug, and the plug has the O-ring in it. Put a plug in there. We'll use this end to kind of fire downstream. The other end will be the end that we connect last. How fast that goes. You know, I was watching Matt from Pacific Northwest Hillbilly do this, and he had a similar setup, but it took him forever to crimp one crimp. I wonder if it had these stages like this one does. He ended up converting it to air over hydraulic, which I guess is always an option for me, but right now I'm happy with this. He was crimping a lot of fittings, so maybe that's the difference. I'm not doing near as many. He completely redid every line on his Hitachi, I think it's a EX120. Looks good to me. This is just so I don't get dirt and stuff in there. just like that, the hose crimping part is done. It seems like about 2% of the total job here. I'm getting the old lines out, measuring the old ones, measuring the new ones, cutting them, then crimp, and then putting them back in. It's literally 2 to 5% of the whole job is the crimping. It's like nothing. Let me show you what these look like under a better lens here. Looks pretty good, right? I'd say so. Pretty sure that slotted line right there is where you're supposed to stop the crimp. I was a little bit worried about knowing where to stop because it's different for every hose and hose fitting, but that makes it pretty obvious. That's about a 1/4 inch from the end. But yeah, it looks great. And you can still see the part number even when it's crimped. Yeah, perfect. You can probably go back a little bit. Perfect. Oh yeah, look at that. I got probably 3 feet too much, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. Okay. Perfect. Oops. I think I'm supposed to go through there. Oh well. Oh well. I'm just not worried about it. Oh, it's gonna be so nice to be able to swivel this basket. That was definitely one thing that kind of handicapped this machine for the, what, 2 years that I've had it now. You could swivel one way, but going the other way, you'd lose a lot of fluid.
Alright, so I'm on my job site right now where I'm building this spec house to sell. And I got a pretty bad leak, and I'm pretty sure it's a hose on this machine right here. It's not bad enough where I have to not use the machine, but it's bad enough where I gotta address it pretty soon. So let's see what it's like to kind of do a on-site repair, which I don't have the hose stuff with me, but I'm only 15 minutes away. One thing I don't have is a lot of tools because I don't know what I need. But the leak is somewhere right there. It's right underneath the pump. So I think I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees so that we got a place to work underneath there. So you can see evidence of some oil spots right there, and right there. And then there's a lot of dripping all over the place. So I think what I've narrowed it down to is there's this hose right here that's leaking. That's a 3/4 inch hose. And almost looks like JIC on the end, but this machine is predominantly BSPP, British Standard Pipe Thread Parallel. And it looks like this is actually a return, but I could be wrong about that. This is a small gear pump on the end of the main piston pumps. And so this goes to the pilot controls. First it goes through this filter. But anyways, it goes underneath here, goes underneath this hydraulic tank. So we got to take off this panel and see where that goes. This part's easy. I can get to this real easy. It's this one right here. The bad thing about that is it's gonna make fluid go absolutely everywhere. I have those Rhino plugs with me. Maybe I can plug it up fast enough, but it's actually worse for it to be a return hose. I mean, there's no pressure behind it, even when it's running, but for purposes of taking the hose out, it's a disaster. One thing I also discovered is the main suction hose here is also leaking a lot. So there's 2 major leaks. So I'm gonna leave this panel off, and I'm gonna have to probably order that suction hose because it's about, I don't know, 2 3/4 or 3 inches inside diameter. But this should be a 3/4 inch hose, so we should be able to take that off no problem. Ridiculous. Getting the hose out is the easy part. Making the hose is another easy part. Putting it back together without getting fluid everywhere is going to be the other hard part, though. This part of the hose is above the other part and it's drained out, so it's not going to have any fluid. But yeah, this is BSPP. There's nothing coming out of this setting, but still, I'll just put one of these on here.
I guess there is like a crack there. Like I said, this is just a return hose, so it really sees no pressure. So for it to be leaking, it's got to be pretty bad. This hose is really stiff too. I know the new hose that I got's much more flexible. I brought my caps and plugs, but I really don't need them. It takes too long to take off the cap. That thing leaks way too much fluid, way too quick. But sometimes it is good to just have caps and plugs with you, just so you know what the fitting is. I mean, I know what it is. I'm really familiar with all this stuff now. But if you weren't, you could bring this stuff with you just so you know what the fittings are. Okay, so I got my little cutoff saw here today. Perfect timing. Feet 8 inches. Let's see what we got here. Female BSPP 3/4, which is number 12. So that should do it. Just need 2 of these. And actually, I think I got like 6 of them all together. I also got the 90s too, which are the expensive ones. Perfect. Inches. Smells like burning rubber. I don't know. Bandsaw is seeming pretty good. This does the job, but I don't know. It's definitely a cleaner cut than the bandsaw, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm noticing there's some crud in there too. I think it's a good idea to just blow that out with some compressed air. You know, I don't think hydraulic shops ever do that, but I'm gonna do it. So for an R2 hose, which is 2-wire, number 12, so R2-12, we're looking at 30.25 millimeters. So we're gonna go ahead and put the 28 die in and add 2.25. So to get these out, I found it's easiest just to use a screwdriver. Just kind of pop it up, and then it'll slide out. I think it's probably worth noting that you need to make sure that all of the dies are the same. I mean, obviously, but you should just keep that in mind. You don't want to put like a bunch of 28s in there and then put like a 24 or something. Get an uneven crimp. So So there's a 28.
So we're gonna adjust the fine tuning to 2.25. So there's 2. And there's 2.25 millimeters. Make sure the light's working. Probably gonna have to scoot this forward so we can get that hose around back. Test lights on. Looking good. Nice and even. If I sound like I'm excited throughout this whole process, it's probably because I am. This is something I've wanted for a while. I literally built this part of the shop specifically just to put this hose making station in. Like, yeah, I need a car lift, and yeah, I need a overhead crane, and I need a wood boiler, but I think this is first. Double check total length. 32 inches. There we go. And just like that, I have a $300 to $400 hose that I made for, let's see, I'll show you the price. So this is 2-wire, and this is 3/4. So that's $4.44 per foot. It's like 2.66 feet. So that's about $12 in hose. And then the hose end is $21.61 a piece. So that's $43.22 in fittings. 11.81. So that's $55 to make that hose. Even if they charge me $200, that's a pretty big savings when you start doing a bunch of these. Not only that, but I can get this done after hours. I can come out here at 3 o'clock in the morning if I want to. Napa closes pretty early. Some of the other auto parts stores do this sometimes, but around me they don't, so only Napa does it, and they're only open till 6 o'clock usually. And I'm not bashing Napa or anything like that. I'm just stating the facts that having the ability to make your own hose is just so much better. Now, if you have one machine and it's pretty new and you don't need hoses really that much, it might not pay to do something like this. But if you're like me and you got old machines, this is a game changer right here. So I put a plug on the end just so I don't get dirt in it, because I gotta push this through. And I should hook up this end first because there's not going to really be any fluid coming out. But as soon as I hook up that end, fluid's going to come out this way. So definitely want to make sure this is hooked up first. Yeah, I can see this is going to be a nightmare. Wish I had a vacuum. If you put a vacuum on this tank, then it will prevent most of the fluid from coming out. But I don't have that right now. I'm going to take off my coat because I have a feeling I'm going to be getting fluid all up my arm. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go, 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 go. Let it go. Okay. Whew. Okay, I got it. Okay. Hard part's done. Got a little fluid on me, but not too bad. Could have been a lot worse. Man, that is not fun. I don't know what I would have done without a second hand. You know what's funny is I definitely replaced this hose like 6 years ago. This suction hose right here. So I don't know why that's already like cracking and going bad. I did get a bunch of turns out of these hose clamps. So maybe, yeah, it doesn't seem to be leaking anymore. It was like a constant drip a little while ago. Let's start it up and test it out. Maybe I fixed both leaks. So no leaks. That's good. You know, these machines, sometimes you just work them, and since they're older, you're not like super concerned about things as long as you're not like contaminating soil all over the place by having like a constant stream of hydraulic fluid. You're like, drip here, drip there, not too bad. On a newer machine, I'm pretty sure most people would be more concerned than that, but on these older machines, which a lot of mine are, you know, you're just not really worried about it, which is another great thing about having a hose crimping station, because now it's like there's no excuse. You see a drip somewheres and you're like, well, that's only going to get worse. Let's replace it now. There's no excuse. It's like a quarter the price of going to the store, so all it takes is a little elbow grease and I most likely have everything else. So another good reason to have one of these hose crimping stations. So one last thing I wanted to do to kind of upgrade this whole scenario here is to add an air over hydraulic pump to this so that I don't have to manually pump this anymore. So on this unit, conveniently, there's a T right here with a cap on it. And conveniently, I can just tap into that and run my air over hydraulic pump, and then I can run with compressed air and just bypass this. So one thing I did have to do is locate a fitting for here, because this is a German fitting, and this is what's called a DIN 24. So DIN and then 24-degree swivel cone on the end. So it's got like a male within a female, but this is the female part of it that I need. And so I don't have anything like that. I never used anything like that before. It's a European fitting, most predominantly a German fitting. So I had to actually go to my local hydraulic store and locate one, and I just told them to convert it to JIC. So this is an 18 millimeter DIN 24 to a number 6 or 3/8 JIC. So that goes into there. And then the pump that I got, it's just a cheap pump that I got for like $100. And it's got like a small reservoir in it. It's like a half a gallon of fluid in it. And it came with a hose that is NPT on both sides, NPT 3/8, but I don't really have a great way to get it into there. So I think what I'm going to do is make a new hose, because I went through all my fittings and I couldn't find something to adapt this to that without coming up to here with like 3 or 4 different adapters. I could make it work, but it just, there's so many connections that I think I would just rather make a hose. I have the capabilities. So we'll make one more hose with this system, doing the manual style, and then we'll try out. It's too bad that I couldn't try out the new hose with this, but we'll make a test hose after that. So I got to go from number 6 JIC female directly to a hose. I'll use 3/8, and then on the other side I'll use 3/8 NPT. So let's see here, JIC 3/8 by 3/8 JIC swivel. So that'll be for this end, and then for the other end we will do a, let's see, we'll just do a 3/8 by 3/8 NPT swivel male. Oh, I didn't realize that I actually have a regular one that's not swivel. But you know what? It'd be less expensive if I use this one, but being that there's a 90 on the other end, let's use a swivel on this end, because otherwise we're going to have a hose that's going to be all twisted. Because the chances of you getting it right in the right spot, which is going to be right where that NPT tightens up, is going to be very slim. So we'll make it swivel on this side, and this side can't swivel. You can't swivel it that way. It swivels this way, but not this way. So I also, while I was at the store, I got a whole bunch more fittings here. And every time I go to the store, I'm going to keep getting more and more of stuff that will get me out of trouble sometimes. So all this stuff is converting different sizes, because I am lacking a little bit on that. I have adapters to go from one adapter to the other, but I don't have a lot that go different sizes, like reducers is what these are. These are all reducers. So I got some NPT bushings, or a reducer, whatever you want to call it, like that kind of stuff. And then I got JIC reducers, like this is 3/4 to 3/8, and I got like 1/2 inch to 3/4. So we got a bunch of different miscellaneous adapters. We'll put them in here. I can tell I might need a whole nother drawer here, although I can kind of organize this a little bit better. But we'll just put all these reducers into one spot. This is the get out of trouble drawer right here. So we'll just put this aside. That's another hose for another day. Got our other hose end here. And then this thing just takes a regular 1/8 inch NPT fitting, and you just put some air to it, press the pedal, and it does all the work. So we'll put the cap back on this thing. And we'll use the hand pump for one more time. Let's see, we need some 3/8. Somewhere right there is good. Okay, so let's look at our chart here. We're going to be R206, so that's 20.32. So we'll use a 17 millimeter die and add 3.32. Now they gave me a quick coupler here, which this is not very popular around here, but it'll work, and it was free, so I guess we'll use it. I really wanted the quick coupler to be right at that T, but I could not find a good configuration without going back to the hydraulic store or having fittings sticking that far up before I start my hose. So we'll just put it right on the unit here. That way if I need to bring that somewheres to a job site or something, the hose will just go with it and that will stay here. Got a brand new package of Loctite 545. I just now went through my first bottle. I went through the whole bottle. So this is my second bottle. If you guys don't have this stuff, get it. For hydraulic and pneumatic, instead of using Teflon, this is the stuff to use. You usually got to order it. You can't find it in the stores, but it's worth every penny and every day that you have to wait for it. you know what? I didn't realize. I guess this can swivel. I think. Yeah, this can swivel. So I could have put the non-swiveling fitting on this end, but whatever. Let's try this out. Oh, it's so much better. I mean, it's not quite as fast as I thought it would be, but you don't have to do anything. You just have to put your foot on the pedal. That's it. I mean, my compressor, a big compressor, just had the motor blow on it, so I'm using a small compressor. But if I had my normal compressor, this thing would be not too bad. Yeah, that's the only problem I can see right now is just my compressor keeping up with it. It just starts to slow down after a little bit. It uses a lot of CFM. I think this pump uses something like 13 CFM, and that compressor's nowhere near that. So, yeah, you know, you're going through a full tank instantly, and then it's pumping up from there. I'm kind of dying to try a hose fitting out. Let's see what we got the most of here. NPT seems like I got a lot of them. Let's see, this is a real cheap fitting right here, a non-swivel 3/8 NPT male. And we also have an NPT female. But since we have the dies in for 3/8, let's just try this out. I know this is really wasteful, but why not? We're gonna let that compressor rest for a second. Now that the dies are just touching it, let's see how long it takes when it actually has to put pressure on it. And when the compressor is actually full. You know, I'm just using a portable compressor. I think the thing is like 5 or 6 gallons, or not even. Actually, I just looked at it and it's 2.6 gallons. So it's a job site compressor, something that you run a finish gun off of. Nowhere near the compressor I need, so don't judge this thing by that compressor. But now that we're fully charged up with our 2.6 gallons, let's see what we got here. Well, that's it. Test light's on. I mean, it did it pretty fast. You could see if I had a good compressor, this actually would be very fast. So then you just hit the You hit the forward button on this and it releases. So it literally took me 10 minutes to install that thing and $100. But why not, you know? I mean, I hate to be like sounding lazy, like I don't want to use this hand pump, but I mean, for what I have into this thing, it makes sense. And I can still use this if I bring this somewheres, which this thing is very portable, you know, you can pick it up. I mean, it's not light, but it's probably 60 to 80 pounds. It's not too bad. Discount Hydraulic Hose also sent me a digital caliper, which seems to be a pretty good quality caliper. Let's keep that right here. So another thing they sent me is these charts right here. A chart with all the different fittings. British and metric adapters. And these are just the different names. It's not even the sizes on here. Like, there's sizes within each one of these. Each one of these squares has all the range of sizes associated with it. Like, this is not a chart that has all the different sizes. Like, that's how many fittings there is just with British and metric. And that's not even European. Like, I don't even see the DIN adapters on here, so that's a totally different one. There's just so many of them. Here, and then here's the steel fittings and adapters, which is mainly like American, or you know, they're mostly American anyways. JIC, NPT, straight thread, O-ring boss, O-ring face seal, flareless compression, 4-bolt flanges, which that would be like the code 61. And then here's all the hydraulic hose fittings. And then they also have like brass fittings and adapters for like air and water and stuff. And then they and fuel too. And then they also have like all the different kinds of hoses. So I don't think we have room on our wall for all these, but I think these three I'm gonna put over there just so I have something for a reference. So I think I did a pretty good demonstration of several different size hoses, several different types of hose ends, some adapters, using the crimper, the cutoff saw, the newly added pneumatic over hydraulic pump. Maybe you guys learned something about different fittings. I'm really happy with having this station here, and I have to thank discounthydraulichose.com. They really helped me out on this one. I didn't get all this stuff for free, but they definitely helped out a lot on it. And if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I don't just partner up with anybody. I try to only do the sponsorship type of stuff if it's stuff that I really believe in, stuff that I really use. I have emails every day about people wanting to sponsor me for different things that I have no idea what they are, or I don't use them, or I never will use them. But every once in a while something comes up, or I reach out to them, which in this case I actually reached out to them, you know, because I really believe in this. I've been using these guys for a long time, and throughout that time I've been learning a lot, and a lot of it's been through them that I've been learning. Because you have a hydraulic project in mind and you're trying to figure it out, and you start going online and figuring out what's what, and when things start clicking, it actually gets really fun. If you start to do something with hydraulics, like a big project, and you have like one fitting that you don't have, that gets annoying. But if you really take your time and go through every little connection, and just, if you know your different types of hose ends and your different adapters, you can really have fun doing a project, because everything just sort of clicks into place. And there's almost always a way to adapt from what you have to what you're trying to do, even if it may take an adapter or two. Now, I don't have even close to as many adapters as they have out there. I have like maybe a quarter, maybe not even. but I have a lot of the important ones that I know for my machines, this is what I need. Now that German fitting there threw me for a little loop. I'd never seen anything like that before, so maybe I'll try to get a couple of those on my next order. So like I said, I have a code that you can use in the description. It's a discount code that you can get 5% off at discounthydraulichose.com. You know, if you guys are in the market for anything that you see here, and they have a lot more than this, they supported me, so if you support me, check them out at least, and maybe you can support them too. So I guess that's it for this video, guys, and I will catch you on the next one.